Hello, hello. Oh my gosh, this is great. So I was telling our group of friends that we have up here in the Salt Life community that I have a little bit of a hoarse voice. So for some of you guys who don't know me, I'm Marquita Anderson. If you've been following what we've been doing at aSweatLife, we've been hosting a race and wellness conversation over the past couple weeks, particularly in June. And then we decided to carry it on over into our sweat working week that we host about, I want to say twice a year, which is a week of fitness fun, something like almost like a bar crawl for fitness. So yes, if you guys don't know me again, my voice is super raspy and I might have some squeaks. So just bear with me, all right? Cool, cool. Alrighty. So thank you guys so much again for coming out here, joining us. If you have friends that are gonna come to the event and join us, take a seat and listen in as they pour in. These little markers here, the little flags, are for them to cop a squat, just like you guys did. So if you have some people that's walking in a little later or something like that, just kind of give them a heads up. And we'll use this for our workout spots following our conversation today. Okay? Cool. Thumbs up. All right, all right, all right. So, yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to hop right into this jam so we will have time to kind of get everything out that we want to today. So, sitting with me, I have some amazing people that represent the fitness community in Chicago. Myself, I'm a trainer in Chicago myself, but I do more pop-ups and things like that, collaborations. I've been a Nike pacer for the Nike Run Club in Chicago and a mixture of things in that space. And I also teach dance classes. That's my background. But full-time, I am a producer at Channel 5. So if you guys see me either in that element of working out or the element of news, then I hold both of those hats in the city. So that is me, but we're going to learn a little bit more about our panelists, and we're going to dive into what we're going to talk about today. So right now, starting out to my left here, I have Miss Courtney Phillips. You can kind of just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you currently do for a living.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure already kind of speaking to the other panelists. They're all trailblazers, so I appreciate being a part of the conversation. I'm Courtney Phillips, like Marquita said, and I am the co-founder of Gumbo Media, based here in Chicago. And Gumbo Media at large is like our umbrella company where we expand the narrative of Black life through content, experiences, and opportunity. And a good example of that is our the issue 1 of our magazine, which is Gumbo Magazine, titled Black, which centers over 160 different creatives globally who just really kind of expressed, what Blackness is to them and understanding that it's nuanced and as much as there are things in common, there are a lot of different things that kind of make us ourselves and make us individual in the larger sense. And so within that, we have had plenty of partnerships across the city and different programming. Since the pandemic, we've started an online e-learning platform called Melon Network, which centers Black entrepreneurs, creatives, alike who have just shared their craft and been able to create some side income on that and learn new things. And then alongside that, we also have Gumbo Fit, which is why I'm here, which is our fitness initiative. And that's been going for the past year and a half. We started in May 2019. And we're sponsored by Nike Running, so our primary pillar is running. And we trained for the marathon last year. I ran my first marathon, the Chicago Marathon, which was amazing. Thank you. So it's been a journey. I personally have not been a runner, but I like really started to call myself a runner when I started this run club, and it's been really an amazing journey.
Yes, yes. So we'll pass the mic down too so we can get to know everybody first. As you guys can see, we're trying to be as safe as possible.
Is this on? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you. This is an honor. As Courtney said, we've already been talking amongst ourselves about what it is to be in the community of fitness and wellness in Chicago. I'm Carla Huffman, Chicago native. I actually am a co-founder of a film company. I'm an indie filmmaker, producer called New Culture Creatives, and I'm also a yoga teacher and facilitator. I lead teacher trainings across the country, and I actually had the opportunity to become the first Black women ambassador for Lululemon last year. And in the last 9 months, I've just been programming my ass off. Yeah, like every month doing a different program across the city, either a dinner, a workout, a yoga class, and just trying to find ways for us all to connect in some kind of way to embody what it looks like to be sweaty, also to show that we do more than just what is always being said on the media. Yeah. Oh, here. Come on, listen.
All right, we are on. Cool. Hello, everybody. How are you feeling, everybody? See, I'm an instructor. I need like call and response. See if you my ego somehow. I'm Colin Hudson. I'm the founder of Soapbox Productions and Organizing. It's a film and social activism entity. We work with grassroots organizations. We make films, a lot of documentaries, and we have a multimedia framework where we have a podcast as well as an editorial board, as well as make films that are all kind of in the same voice, kind of to send up systems of oppression in whatever capacity. I've been doing that for technically 7 years now. Really ramped up around 2017 or so. I'm also a fitness instructor at Crosstown Fitness and Studio 3. And I kind of blended those two worlds together with a ongoing series we call Fitness Against Fascism. There's also a something to kind of support Soapbox as well. And with that, we pair like a high-intensity interval training workout with a trauma-informed yoga flow and have a community conversation, normally kind of more themed about patriarchy, racism, all name an ism. We talk about it and kind of how that corresponds to the fitness space and the wellness space, and how we can't think about fitness and wellness as apolitical when those things aside when we go into that space, and when they're always with us and living with us in our bodies, and certain bodies are going to be more privileged than others. How we challenge that and uproot that in our everyday being and by kind of just existing. So the past year or so, I've really kind of put my two worlds together really unapologetically, which has gotten me in trouble at certain times. But for whatever reason, the past couple of months, that hasn't been as much the case. And we can dig into why that may be. So I'm also honored to be here with you all, because I've known you guys for a little bit now. And it's been awesome just being in the spaces that I'm in and seeing the overlap become more the past couple of years, and seeing other folks doing the same thing, being able to kind of bounce ideas off and really kind of vibe and collaborate in different capacities with everybody. So hopefully we can keep that going here and beyond the physical space.
All right, all right. Well, let's clap it up for our panelists real quick. Show them a little love. All right, so, you guys shared a lot of the things that you guys have going on, and a lot of our worlds kind of intertwined. If we're a fitness professional, you are a professional in this space, in that space, and these worlds are kind of melding together to a certain extent. But what I want to talk about is specifically what moment or event or thing happened for you to get into the space, particularly for you, we'll go down the line, but particularly for you, Cullen, that created this fire for you to now be, I called you a fitness activist. That might not be the right term. I'm putting two things together. But can you tell us about that? Like, was there a moment? Was there a particular thing? I mean, you know what's going on in the world right now, but you've been in this world for some time and speaking up and speaking out. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, for sure. I've never actually got that question. I thought about that before. I like fitness activists. That's kind of cool. So I hear that and I think about, I'm a bit like analogy and like story person. I swear this makes sense. But 1968 Mexico City Olympics, everyone knows this symbol with Johnny Smith and John Carlos on the pedestal with their fist up. So that was huge, obviously, globally, particularly within the Black activist community at the time. A lot of folks didn't want them to even go to the Olympics or even to go and run, because they were like, why would you go and represent this country that's literally killing us in every way they can see fit. And I'm not sure which one it was who said this, but they were pretty much like, look, I run because I like to run, and I'm going to be black and run and win and be black again all at the same time. And I shouldn't have to choose between that, my two worlds. And that always kind of stuck with me. And not that I like have any kind of platform like that profound, but it's like, I think at one point years ago, I was struggling personally with my career and with what Soapbox was going to be. And when I kind of made the decision to dig my heels in and to say things and put media out in the world that wasn't, didn't serve the systems that be, and find a way to try to get paid for it and live, I made that choice, right? And so with that, I had to do that across the board, and that included with how I present myself in fitness spaces. They may not be like obvious or intentionally political, quote unquote, spaces. But it was important for me just to be myself in that space, and if that was a problem, that wouldn't be a place that I would want to work at. That's kind of how Fitness Against Fascism came to be as well. And so it's very interesting seeing the moment we're in now, and seeing businesses across industries and across borders, whatever, make statements for Black Lives Matter, make statements about how they're going to do things differently, and knowing the practice of those same businesses and knowing what they've said in the past to me directly or just people in general, and knowing how those haven't changed, and then knowing how, as much as the moment we're in is different, how what's happening as far as the atrocities aren't any different, and kind of wanting to unpack what the reason was behind that.
I like that. And we're going to keep on moving forward. Carla, you want to take the mic? And same question. For you, you pointed out that you are, if I'm getting this right, the first Black Lulu female in Chicago. Okay. So in Chicago, you're the first Black woman to represent the Lululemon brand as an ambassador. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you can kind of just speak about not even necessarily that, but if that's the space that you're in, what in for you, that moment, that fire that really kind of lit things for you to kind of move forward, even with how you represent yourself.
Yeah. Well, I'm always on fire. Like I'm always like, tear this shit down. Let's start all over again. So I've been a yoga teacher for now 7 years. I've been leading teacher trainings for about 4 years. I've been in the yoga world just as a practitioner for 10 years. And just noticing, I mean, it's so cliche, and it honestly gets on my nerves now to even say, like, I was the only Black girl in the room. Like, because now I don't ever put myself in that room. Like, for now, I'm just like, hey, are you coming to class with me? Because, like, we got to go do this. We need to disrupt. So I think in the last 6 years, I'll just say what's made me initiate the narrative of stop being the only is to always include in whatever way I can, and making sure that everybody understands that this is for us. And nowadays it's by us, like people are creating their own platforms in different ways. And it's like, oh, he has this thing going on. Like he gave me flyers and everything. They're on my page, like, hey, she has this happening. We should go to this, So I guess the fire for me now is when I became an ambassador, I was honored. And then I also was annoyed, because I understood like how I move is a lot different than a lot of people who just sweat. And not just say it's just that their only focus is on that workout and like getting the people in the classroom. And for me, it's like, yes, let's do some yoga. Yes, let's breathe. But also like, what am I saying to you who's in this room with me? So I think when I became an ambassador, I was telling Courtney earlier, I signed that contract and I did not stop. Like every week I was like, I want to do this. I want to do this. And Lululemon is really good about, I don't know what they were doing in the past, but in the last couple of years, Lululemon is really good about, if their ambassador has an idea and brings it to them, they'll try their way to finish it through. And I just made sure the fire for me was like, okay, I have this on my name. I want to make sure in the next year that I'm not the only. So we did bring on 2 women of color this year. So I'm really happy about that. So I'm not by myself anymore. And also in that same vein, every program I did to make sure that everybody was seen, everybody was a star. Everybody was like exemplified in a way where they also are showing their work and explaining their work. So like the lit's always in me. Like tomorrow I'm gonna have some new other program I want to do. But trying to take breaks in between that time. And then, like, as a filmmaker though, I know exactly what happened. My first web series that I created was called Yogma, and it was about navigating a black woman in the yoga world in a predominantly white space. And the reason why I created that, because I'm not an actor, like I'm legitimately like, don't watch Yogma. I was forced to be the main character, but I am a producer. But I remember the day I was in this studio, and I remember the day before, it was in Hyde Park. A black woman came in and just needed to take class. You could see like she just needed a break from her child. And she dropped off her baby in the lobby area and was like, hey, can you just watch this child for like an hour? And I was like, yeah, girl, get in there and take that class. And I remember the manager coming out and saying she can't be here. And I had to pull the girl out of the class. The next day, the manager brought her baby. And her baby cried for like 4 hours straight in the studio. And I was just like, what is this? Like, why is this even a different scenario? Like, I don't care that you're the manager. Like, your child's crying and I can hear it in the studio. And I just remember just that conversation of like, what's this difference? Why is anybody better than the other when you can see that we need to heal equally as you need to heal? So that definitely was the spark with me getting into the film world and like staying and bringing those two worlds together. So.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. I think that a lot of us, especially up here right now, we carry that with us, like a lot of who we are, into the spaces and places that we are. So we think, well, it's just kind of like how I've been doing things. So again, thank you guys for being here and just even sharing who you are, what you do with this community in particular.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
I'm sorry. Same question, my dear. You, in particular, do have Gumbo Fit, but at the same time, or you have Gumbo Media, but then now you've created this section for Gumbo Fit. So that seems like it's something particular, either some type of moment, fire, some desire, passion for you to create for a specific purpose. So just talk to us about that.
Yeah, I would say with Gumbo Media, we saw a lot of progress within the creative realm, and I had been on my own personal fitness journey for ever since I could remember, like just dealing with just like accepting my body and wanting to feel strong and confident as a black woman. And I didn't really see or feel like I had access to spaces for fitness and didn't always want to just go to a class. And I got introduced to Nike, and I just pitched them the idea of, what if I did a run club? and I made it with the help of my fiance and co-founder that's sitting right in front of me. We made a really nice deck, and we just made it really super convincing. And I came at it with the perspective of like, I have played sports, but I've never considered myself a runner. I'm on my own personal fitness journey, and I want to try running. And so we just started meeting, and it started so quickly, and it grew so quickly that I don't even remember. I didn't even really know how people found out about us. I mean, I guess we already had the platform with Gumbo Media, but like a lot of those people don't work out with us. Like we have our like media people, like followers, and then there's like the fitness followers, and a lot of them are, don't really mingle. And so just with that energy, I guess, and just optimism and a little bit of naivete, I guess, these amazing individuals just kind of like popped into my orbit and were like, I want to help you lead this. And so before I knew it, I had like 4 captains, and we're just running it. And it's been now, we meet on Saturdays, we run at 8 a.m. and then on Tuesdays we do track Tuesdays. And I really try to just do what I know how to do, which is community, like gathering community and like community organizing in the sense of just like creating space so that people can see themselves reflected the way they want to see themselves reflected. And then for my captains, it's been just amazing to see them kind of get into a space where they've been Nike Run Club pacers in the past and have run with other run clubs around the city, but have explicitly told me many times that they never really felt like the conversations were meaningful, or that people didn't really care about their health and wellness on a real level. And so, running with us with Gumbo Fit, it's been more like, oh, I can go here and the conversations are just different. I can run here with Gumbo Fit, and I know that people actually, when they ask me how I'm doing, they actually care. And so that's kind of what has ignited the passion for me to do Gumbo Fit, and to become a runner myself, and to also just, I think part of that is just own the fact that I came into this not really knowing a lot about running, and that's okay, because I think we need to see more representation for people that are, our age, who want to try something new, and don't need to be intimidated out of something. Because I think if I had always been like a track runner, the energy would be different. And so I just kind of live in that and own it.
Alrighty, so we've been having these conversations, like I mentioned, for the past couple of weeks now. I'm sure some of you guys have been tapped into a lot of the spaces and places and a lot of industries that have specifically addressed diversity and race and things like that, and how we're trying to approach it moving forward. And so with our panelists today, one of the things in particular that I really wanted to focus on was, in particular, people who represent the fitness community, but there's so many other things that they're doing. And in particular in Chicago, it's a huge part of my world. And like Courtney mentioned, I was a part of the Nike Run Club, and I shared some of those same thoughts that some of your captains and different people who have worked with you, who work with you currently. And so the way that I'm looking at things now is, hey, how are we, especially as leaders or people that are kind of like stepping forward or already have brands or platforms, what are we doing? What are we saying? How are we moving forward? Have we already been doing X, Y, and Z? And then if people are asking, how can I be a part of what you do, the role that you have going on? What can I do to help? What more can I do? This is the next part of the conversation. So I just want to start with, whoever wants to go next, I'll start with you, Cullen. I'll pass it down to you, and we can work our way this way. I just want to know, in particular, for you, your brand, and how you are moving forward. Can you talk to us about that?
That's a lot. How much time do we have? No. It's been weird just being outside of a traditional business, i.e. corporate, i.e. white and mainstream, however you want to read that space, and doing what I do just on the daily. So enter coronavirus, enter with that, exposing the, in my view, the ills of capitalism, the ills of how it's intersected with racism and patriarchy and white supremacy and on and on and on and on. Things to me were obvious before, and I had preached about before and tried to do within my work. And then seeing folks being more empathetic because everyone's suffering, right, through this time. And with that, we're seeing articles by Block Club Shy and, looking at Chicago particularly, surprise Latinx and Black communities are getting COVID more than others. And I see that, I'm just like, yeah, that checks out. Like, that's how racial capitalism works, and that's how everything kind of works. And I'm not, like, happy to see that, but I don't bat an eye it because I'm not surprised that's how these systems have always failed us. And because it's so salient, it makes people be more aware of it and maybe want to do something about it, which feels good. And then enter Ahmaud Arbery. I have a lot of thoughts on that. But in the fitness community, like 2 months ago, that happens, and, folks are posting about it, and folks are outraged, which as everyone should be. But I'm seeing, I think, what was it, run 2.25 miles? That's like the thing to do, and tell us about it, which is fine. But if that's where it stops, you might as well not do it, because how does that not only represent black voices being marginalized, but how does that represent a push towards liberation? So I had a lot of conflicting feelings when I saw that being all over my Instagram feed. And there's this weird thing about thinking that, like, I need to say something about that particularly, or I need to run, or I need to make some kind of workout with 2 and 2.5 in it somehow, just to like be part of the trend. And then also part of me is trying to push back against the need to do that because I'm in the fitness space and black. Because talk about this shit all the time. And so I post something about it, like kind of like saying that this incident is bad, but this is what's supposed to happen in a white supremacist society, and things that harm people all the time, this included, but are the bail system that just exist, are policing black folks' language, are looking at me in a certain way because I present myself in a certain way that you don't like. Like, that's all white supremacy, and that all adds to harm and oppression and death. So that's what I'm more concerned about. Of course, I'm concerned about racists doing things. I'm also concerned about the police force getting $2.2 billion over a year in Chicago. Like, there's, especially with media, making something visual and sexy, something you're going to see on your phone for 2 minutes. How do I use this incident, i.e. Ahmaud Arbery, or this video that's 2 minutes long, that has a bunch of text all over it, and make you not think about that incident or that little thing, but the broader structure that makes that not only possible, but wants that to happen or moves in a way to let that happen and institutionalizes that in ways that are invisible. So then I'll swear I'll get the fast mic because I don't want to be the guy on here talking a bunch. And then George Floyd happens, right? And then we see, kind of, we mentioned about businesses and everyone coming out. And so it's made me as a person move differently and Soapbox move differently into still presenting and talking about what we always talk about, but leaning into the moment and almost being more unapologetic because we can be a little bit less palatable than we have before. Not that it's ever anything part of our mantra, but folks already know the stats of how much the police get a year, which is something that was like shocking 2 months ago to recite to people. So you know that, cool. Let's take that and let's talk about John Burge. Let's take that and let's look about the last mayoral race. Let's take that and let's look at all the other things. So we can get a little deeper, faster about issues, and so make it sexy and fun, hopefully funny at the same time. Soapbox also has a podcast as well that Matt and Courtney were on, which is super dope. You guys check it out, Bourbon in Browntown. Quick plug. But that's a cool space because with our podcast, is me and my colleague David, who's Mexican, first generation from Chicago, talking about issues, and we're just chumming it up, talking as friends. We're literally drinking bourbon, probably saying things we shouldn't, but we try to be chummy and entertaining, but also talk about these deep issues and be vulnerable at the same time. And so that changed with folks we've had on the podcast as guests post George Floyd, who mainly are activists in different rights and kind of asking about their experiences as well. So I think talking to folks and putting those conversations out there and being able to dig into these things without having to talk about, in our view, Googleable things or really get into the meat of it really easy and easier now has been nice and refreshing. But also in a moment where we're getting literally killed and literally tear gassed at the same time. So how do you balance the two and still do the work? But then half your conversations are on an encrypted app now because you think the police are going to be looking for you, like quite literally. So it's a weird balance in things that are good that are happening because things are also so bad, but because that you feel so powerful at the same time. So in short, doing what we've always been doing, but leaning into the mass consciousness changing and how we can get people at the door and bring them in without shunning them, but also not change how we move because that's unfair to us and that's making us do and perform more labor, which isn't equitable, which is the whole point of, all of this, right?
What I hear from you is the performative work that everybody tries to do, and then they don't do the actual work. I believe all of us sitting up here has already been in the work. We have become desensitized by what has happened and what is happening. And I think for me, instead of doing call out culture, I did call in culture. is what I've been doing in the last couple of months. Even before the pandemic and everything else was happening, I was reeling off of Everyone Should Read Eloquent Rage by Brittany Cooper, because I'm reeling off of the fact of all the black women also being killed, and as when black men are, predominantly being more killed than we are, it's still like we're in the front line, right? We're always in the front line. Black women are always the nurturer. Black women are always the ones that are trying to figure out the answers and doing tricks and stunts to make it all happen. So prior to even this pandemic, I was like, am I doing more performative work as a yoga teacher than not really actually doing like the mindful work all the time? And what I've learned from myself in the last couple of months is, and I actually did a call in with a lot of yoga teachers, especially in the yoga community, which is different from the yoga industry. Yoga industry is consumers who go for an hour and bounce out. Yoga community are the people who stay on the mat, drip it out, come out of that sucker. You don't always have to be crying, but like the change starts within and you come outside like, yo, I just learned some shit, right? I called in yoga teachers to realize like, yo, we are social justice leaders. Like we ooze this all day. We're like, breathe in, figure out your life, and now take it off the mat and change the world. Like you have to go a little bit deeper than that. And I mean, the yoga community is more predominantly white, and I do have the opportunity and the chance and the privilege to teach in big spaces and have the money to teach in big spaces. So, I mean, the last couple of months, what I've been doing is like just calling in, like, do you know what you're doing? Are you meeting the person right and left to you? Because I also have the opportunity, since I am a black woman, I have a lot of black women and men who take my class, and they're in classes with a lot of white women and white men. And I'm like, mingle, meet each other, like have these hard conversations. So I think in the last couple of months for me, the work is calling in myself, educating myself, learning certain words, unpacking my own privilege that I have created around myself. Little old Carla 6 years ago was just trying to get somebody to get on the mat. And now I've gotten to the point where I don't have to do certain things if I don't want to. But now I'm like, I need to be doing all the things because I am a leader. Like, I'm a leader, right? Like, we're leaders. And what I've done specifically within the yoga community, like, yeah, I did a really cute, fun, and sexy web series called Yogama. But then in this last month, I had the opportunity to bring my friend from New York. She drove, so I'm quarantine clean. But she's from New York. She's Asian, and she drove here. And we did a visual podcast, and we talked to different yoga instructors around the city. We taught a class, and we were talking about the industry, the community, how everybody is like fish out of the water and like panic and doing like silly shit on their pages, like the big companies, including Lululemon, where I'm on the phone calls like, I need to talk to Blase Blase because why did you just do this? This doesn't make sense. Like, stop this. So calling in, I'm just been in this call in culture for myself and also for my contemporaries. Still doing more and more work, still trying to make it a little fun and sexy, but also, stopping people and like having like that real conversation. Like, how did you feel about class? Like, did you really enjoy it? And also talking to my other ambassadors. Like, we have the biggest bench in North America, and they love to talk about it. But I'm like, this bench doesn't represent Chicago. Like, what are you talking about? So having conversations with all the ambassadors, like, you guys just stay in these little huddles and, like, go to certain places, including myself. How about we go outside of this huddle? Like, how about we get out of our bubbles and do these other things? So just action, call in, and being really aware with how I articulate myself on Instagram and also how I articulate myself physically in person.
From the perspective of a running leader in the community, I would say the articulation is very important, especially after Ahmaud Arbery. It was as if everybody just, all their eyes just turned to us. And it was like, all right, okay, And it was just like so much performative reaction within the running community because it's so broadly white in Chicago specifically. And so I got to the place where I'm like, okay, one, I had to look at my privilege. Like I always, I think that's been something where I don't think I bring it up in conversation as much as I used to, but it's like I'm a light-skinned black woman. And so there's privileges with that. My hair, right, is more favorable. It's like if you have features that, can get you into doors and give you opportunity, how can I use that to then benefit the black community at large, specifically in the running community in this case? And so it was interesting, one, to see people's reaction and a kind of almost expectation for Gumbo Fit, and then me as a leader just being like, I'm not here to prove anything to you. We are black runners. We live this every day. So I don't need to tell you anything. And I'm not going to post for you, and I'm not going to post a black box because we are black. What do I have to prove to you? And so there was a lot of that. And so it was a lot of like, okay, what do we actually want to post, and what is quality content for us, and what does our community want to see? Because I'm not posting it to just post it and look cute, and be a part of a trend. Okay, it's about serving the community that shows up and has showed up for the past year of our programming, and so that's always been top of my mind. And I would also say that it was very interesting to see the running community try to engage with Gumbo Fit specifically, and try to have us, go on their social media or like, do a questionnaire. Oh, all of a sudden you want to feature us, and we're friends, and we just want you to. And we had to respond. I mean, a lot of the responses were, I don't have anything to say. I can't even find the words for myself. I'm in a state of depression. I need to deal with my own emotions. And on top of that, I need to respect and actually create space, give space to the emotions and the well-being of the people who actually matter right now. And I think that has been just overlooked in a lot of ways throughout the fitness industry, because I've been asked of, like, I was in a conversation not too long ago where the head of this running community in Chicago asked me, well, we just want to get this fixed. We just want to be able to have our black runners run safely. And they had one of their funders on the call, and this funders was like, well, yeah, just send me the bill. Whatever you guys got to do, just do it quickly. Word for word. And so it's like, this is why you don't have black runners, because you don't care about them. You're trying to do a fix. And it's just like, I can't fix systematic racism by myself. And I'm not going to sit here and just give you an answer and make you feel like you can do it yourself. And so I think it's been a lot of like leaning into unapologetic blackness, I guess. And what that means as a leader, and really coming into that leadership role. I didn't grow up in a household personally that was very like activism forward. I was raised by my black father, who was always the type that he was just like, go to school, get good grades, and don't stick out. This is the way the world is. You could die, straight up. And so I like just really got introduced into activism when I moved to Chicago. So groups like Let Us Breathe Collective, like they really, and Colin too, it's like, y'all really like introduced me to a lot of things that I was like, oh wow, like y'all really make it, okay, oh my God, so like so I've had to do a lot of unlearning myself, relearning, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's like all of the different layers of like, where do I stand? Where is my privilege? How can I take action? Okay, I'm a leader. What does that mean? And how can I be most effective? How am I supporting people? How am I making sure that I'm supporting myself? Am I giving myself time to rest and reflect and all these things? So it's I would say that there's a lot that goes into being a leader in the fitness community and being black. And I think that there's a lot of ridiculous requests and expectations for us. And it's also really shown me who in the community really supports us. And yeah.
Yeah, I echo a lot of the things that you guys said. Um, in many ways, like you said, it's a lot of learning and unlearning. And I absolutely believe that when you get introduced to people, organizations, spaces and places that are doing the work, then you kind of find out more. You learn more, right? And so you mentioned the organization. What I want to hear is what organizations or missions matter to you guys? Who are you following or tapped into? Because I think that that could be a possible start is even when, say, blocks host block club parties and they have these meetings and there are things that you can actually sit in meetings and have conversations with people about what happens and what matters in your community. And so, we've brought up voting, in conversations over the past month and how that matters in like the world that we live in now and all these different things. And I think a big part is knowing about organizations, brands, people that are doing the work on the front lines when it comes to this community. So if you guys, we're getting down to the time now, but if you guys can just shoot out maybe one or two organizations that you guys work with, that you believe in, that matter to you. And then we're going to wrap it up with one more question. Yeah? Sounds good? All right.
All right. I would like to say Yoga for Recovery. I don't do a lot of work with them or me or like Soapbox directly as much, but one of our Fitness Against Fascism collaborators, Mel Phillips, does a lot of work with them, and they particularly do programming with women in prison, yoga programming. So under the mantra of like doing yoga, it really is getting the wellness and self-care in places that need it the most, and prison being what it is one of those places. So Yoga for Recovery, I and Soapbox have been doing a lot of work with young people the past couple years now, 2 years, so years. So Chicago Freedom School, they work with, I think as young as like 11 or 12 to like high school, early 20s age young folks on organizing and how to understand power and how it operates in the world and the tools of being like a grassroots organizer and what that means and how to move in this world. You get the really like tangible tools. They're super great. So Chicago Freedom School, Yoga for Recovery, Let Us Breathe. I could go on, but Chicago is Chicago ain't for none. Chicago has a ton of organizations doing a lot of good work, and one that kind of I guess bigger conversation about all that is that like organizations are awesome to do stuff. I think when it comes to donating, and because your money and your time is important, but if you have money and no time, you can donate to organizations. That is all fun and great. And I think we saw this in June particularly. There was like waves of who to donate to support Black folks, to support equity, to support trans and queer folks. Sometimes people just do good stuff. I think mutual aid was something that everyone knows what that is and how to give people what they need under coronavirus especially. So sometimes people just like do stuff and like, hey, Venmo me because I'm going to do this cool thing, and you should just do it. Sometimes you don't always need a institution to carry out the work because institutions are also the things that are working to kill us at the same time. So don't be afraid to just give people money or time and just trust that they're going to do the right thing because that's more what we need in the world in general.
There's two. There's one, Girls in the Hood. Girls spelled with a Y, not an I. And Hood is an acronym. So period, H period, O period, O period, D period. It's based in Inglewood, and the lady who works with them, her name is Christy. She mentors financially, teaches them how to like get into college and like how to balance their checkbooks. Like my grandmother is pretty savvy and a businesswoman, but I didn't know any of that. So I was definitely like, let me go into a workshop with them. But Girls in the Hood definitely gets overlooked because she doesn't promote or anything. She just kind of just reaches out where she thinks she should be, which is understandable, but also unfortunate always. And I'm always pushing her in a way of like, I get why you're trying to just keep it to the chest, but the more what's the word, exposure that these teenage girls see, the different it would be. So Girls in the Hood is one that I definitely, the last program I did with Lululemon, we were able to donate 4K to them. And she was like, okay, I get it, exposure. So Girls in the Hood, definitely. And also, everyone should just check out OTV, Open TV. OTV is a free Chicago web series platform. It's been around for 6 years. I produced like 8 shows for them last year. It's non-binary, LGBTQ plus. I mean, it's everything. In the background, the second story is Chicago. The first story is different creatives who have different platforms themselves. And you can watch all of it. It's like a Netflix and chill situation. There's documentaries, there's cooking shows, there's everything. And I just think that that's definitely a inside look at what's going on in Chicago. I will say that. So OTV, it's not even donating money. It's more or less donating your time. Instead of watching Netflix and just watching all the trailers, because I do that, you can just go to OTV and watch like 15 minutes of content or 20 minutes of content or 2 hours of content. So yeah, Girls in the Hood and OTV.
So I'll just say a couple really quickly. I won't go into descriptions, but Let Us Breathe Collective. Great, really wonderful. Good Kids, Mad City, another one. And then I would say like the Bronzeville Incubator. And obviously the Black Lives Matter, Chicago. You know what I mean? Just always going to shout that out. But yeah, check those out. Thank you so much.
All right. So we are wrapping things up. I see people are making their way for this workout that's coming up next. So this is awesome. Last thing that we want to get out. We're fitness professionals. We're run club runners. We're all these things. And music is one of those things that kind of like brings us all together and makes things happen and give us like that energy to, or even helps lead our class. So what is your top 3 really fast songs that's on your playlist when you're running, when you're putting a playlist together for a class, any of those good things? 3, go, and then we're moving on, all right?
All right, so I really love Afro beats right now. So I would say, oh my God. Right, I'm like, hold on one second. Lion Babe's on here. Blue Orange is on here. There's one that I really like that actually, just give me one second. Rema, really great.
I definitely have a eclectic taste, so bear with me. Anna DeFranco, Joyful Girl. Healing, Sample the Grape. And then, like, my favorite to run with, because I just need some, A$AP Ferg's like baby daddy, for real. So his new song, Square Bitch, is like it's like in my running always. So those are that's my top 3. That's where I'm at.
I just like putting the team on. So my guy Heavy Crowns is an educator and a rapper, and he's fucking dope. So his song Absolutely, and he has a newer song called New Bananas. I play in class pretty often because they're just like great fun songs that are like have high energy. My playlist and my class list are not the same. There's some overlap. I just like listening to a lot of hood shit. So like anything by Montana 300 is on my playlist, like for the majority of my playlist. Yeah.
All right, you guys. So let's clap it up for our panelists.